2 days ago, I saw a vehicle that'd haul that tanker. You want to get out of here? You talk to me.
To the Mad Max Minute, where the foxes have entered the Henhouse in Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, 1 minute at a time. I'm Rick.
And I'm Julia.
And today we're talking about minute 85, which begins with the feral child upgrading to first class, and it ends with Max realizing the weight of the responsibility he's chosen to shoulder. Did you like that one? Shoulder?
Yes, I do.
Yeah? Okay. So today is a Friday episode. It is the end of the week, and as is customary for our Friday episodes, we have a bunch of guests. This is the biggest group that we've ever had. We are joined by Caitlin, Karen, and Liz from the Foxes in the Henhouse podcast.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So why don't you introduce yourselves, because we've got 3 extra voices here.
Well, I'm Liz.
Wait.
That.
Okay, Liz
What?
has identified herself.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Do it again. Sorry.
I'm Liz.
I'm Karen.
And I'm Caitlin.
Welcome. We are so glad to be recording with you guys today.
Oh, thanks for having us on.
This is so exciting.
We're already doing a great job. You know, we've said our names.
I was going to say, we're really excited to have you. Drinks heavily. We've made mistakes.
Having you ladies on our podcast is actually a long time coming, because when we were kicking around the idea of starting a podcast, it was because I was listening to you, Caitlin, on your podcast, and I was like, hey, I know Caitlin. She's a real person. If she can do it, I can do it.
Oh, hey, that's so sweet.
Caitlin can do it.
Anyone can do it. Anybody can do it. It's basically true.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So when was Aresia last year? Was that November, December?
January. It's always MLK
Okay.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Aresia in Boston, when we went to listen to you guys do your live recording, all of that, you know, talking about, oh, we might start a podcast and whatnot. This is the podcast that came from that.
I know. It's awesome.
awesome.
I was so excited. And everything is like, I mean, if I may, super professional. The website is gorgeous. You guys are amazing.
Now we just need to
you.
get a sponsorship from Squarespace, because we made our website there and everyone's like, oh, you make great stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, now I just need them to pay me back for it so I can tell other people to make websites with Squarespace.
Exactly.
But I don't know how to go about doing that, but I'm not going to worry about that.
Man, we've dabbled here and there in trying to figure that out.
Yeah, my ability to
Gotta make 'em want you.
understand coding for HTML kind of lived and died with LiveJournal. So, take of that as you will. I can make things bold, and I can put them in italics. That's pretty much all the coding I've got. So,
Tell us about the before times, Grandma.
it's so true. I'm so old. Someone's going to have to sweep up all the dust from my joints after we're done recording.
So for our listeners that aren't familiar with Foxes in the Henhouse, tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Look at me, I'm drinking.
So first it starts with drinking. It is a broad spectrum pop culture podcast there are 4 of us. And so there's Caitlin, Liz, me, and then Mindy. And we get together every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Live. every
Always
Tuesday.
on Tuesdays.
Only Tuesdays.
We have a couple of drinks and we talk about a particular topic at hand. Sometimes it'll be an entirety of a TV show, so say like Jessica Jones, or other times it will be sort of like we'll tackle a trope. Other ones
like badass loners. We had, we've got an upcoming episode talking about robots. Actually, it's probably out by now.
It is out by now.
yeah, we definitely did one
Live next Tuesday.
Yes.
We definitely had one about creepy clowns, which, funny sidebar about that, I'm in grad school right now, and I had a classmate who needed to borrow a thumb drive, and I had been editing the Creepy Clown podcast on that. And I thought, because I'm a Ninja Turtle junkie, so my thumb drive was a Ninja Turtle. And so I hand it to this very professional woman, and she puts it in the thing. And of course, what is on the thumb drive is put up onto the big screen in front of my entire class.
Of course.
And there's a folder on there that says Creepy Clowns on it. So at the end of my presentation, I'm taking my thumb drive and I go sit down, and I have a classmate goes, your presentation was very good. I know you were very nervous about it. Creepy clowns? So yeah.
Did we get a new reader?
I don't know. I gave him a card. So yeah, there went all my credibility for STEM. It's like, nope, sorry. Back of the book.
Excuse me, we talked about it, a recognized phobia by the APA.
Colrophobia.
Exactly.
Fear of clowns.
It's a very real thing. We were on the Dark Knight Minute podcast, and it was during the Bruce Wayne fear test thing, where, Liam Neeson's like, wallow in other men's fear, and I'm like, well, what if Batman interpreted that as, like, dressing up as things that other people fear? Like, he has a clown costume that he puts on over his Batman costume, just to, like, freak people out.
There are little jester jingly bells on the end of both the points on the top of his cowl, and just a little red nose. Oh my god, I need this in my life now. But Earthworm Batman I would not be okay with.
That'd be like Earthworm Jim on Halloween.
But less fun.
And also an actual earthworm.
Yeah, I'm not
I mean,
okay with
Earthworm
that.
Jim's an actual earthworm.
He doesn't look very earthwormy.
Well, he
Well,
has
it's the
a
robot
super
suit.
Yeah.
All right, but I just mean like an actual earthworm, as in not a cartoon.
Oh.
It's the eyes, isn't it? It's the fact that he's got eyes.
He's got the big
But
bug
they're
eyes.
like different sized eyes.
Oh, that's true.
That's pretty typical of earthworms, Karen.
That's true. I think it wouldn't speak really well to the Nolan universe, though, if at the end of the movie the bad guy gets a cow dropped on them. Which is how every episode of the Earthworm Jim cartoon, and I believe every level of the game, ended with a cow.
That sounds familiar.
Like the Monty
Sounds right.
Python cow, like landing on them.
That does sound familiar, actually. Oh, that was a lovely, pleasant walk down memory lane.
Okay. So if that sounded entertaining, that's pretty much a slice of what the Foxes in the Henhouse podcast sounds like.
And we're pretty sober, considering, for us.
Exactly. The afternoon is still early.
Are we? Oh.
There we go.
Yeah. Jumping into minute 85 at the end of this very exciting week. We start off with the feral child who has just seen a raider walking by, and he kind of freaks out, and so he decides that the best course of action is to jump up, grab onto the shielding around the exhaust pipe, and climb around to get into the cab with Max. So the feral child is this tiny little 8-year-old, and he's grabbing to this exhaust pipe, and he's climbing around, and his head just kind of pops into the open door frame next to Max's lap, and Max looks down at the feral child, and it's like, okay, the last time he saw this kid, he was getting carried away to, like, go get put in a bus. He wasn't paying attention when the feral child jumped on the back here. And so this whole, hey, there's a child in my lap, probably very surprising.
Yeah, I love the innocent look on the feral child's face.
Like, hey, can I come up?
Yeah, like he hasn't been stowing away on this truck, watching horrific murder and violence going on around him, and then he just pops up next to Max, just all innocent-like.
I mean, to be fair, this kid is a murderer himself. He's got, like, the highest body count of the good guy side.
Yes! He switches back and forth from being horrified to being violent alarmingly quickly and often.
Sounds like Liz.
What? Don't talk about my drunken self.
Not in front of her sober self, at least.
It's my secret. I'm always drunk. No,
Always
I don't
drunk.
know. I don't know.
No.
So I was wondering if that was the first time Max saw him, because a few minutes ago, several minutes ago actually, when the truck was first leaving the compound, the feral child was in the back window watching what was going on, and he got scared and gave a great face and then ducked down. So Max didn't notice him then?
I don't think so. I don't really think that Max has, like, a rear view mirror that he'd be able to see into that window. So unless he turned around and then, like, arched over to look behind the seat, because the feral child has been, like, right up against that cab. Like, he's in a blind spot. Max has so many blind spots.
It really is his downfall, isn't it?
It's almost like a fuel tanker isn't really built for combat.
Exactly.
Hello, it says if you can't see the mirrors, I can't see you. What are you doing?
It's like an open invitation for raiders.
But yeah, no, it's definitely one of those, you're like, wait, what are you doing here? Like, it was a comical moment, almost.
Mm-hmm.
It was, which was diminished by Max's lack of expression.
Yeah.
Which, most of the time I praise his lack of expression. I think it's a great acting ability of Mel Gibson's. But this was a comedic moment, and I wanted a comedic reaction. And I didn't get it.
Well, so I didn't realize that he didn't know the kid was there. So, like, I was sort of like, why with the delay? Like, I feel like, didn't he, like, take off his glove before helping him in or something?
Yeah.
He removed an article
he, like, pulls it
or
off with his teeth,
something,
something like
right?
that, yeah.
And then grabs him. I'm like, maybe just get him. Like, I don't know if we need to be so formal here.
No, I guess maybe, if he leaves the glove and there's risk of him, like, the kid slipping out of his hands. The glove
That's a good
falls
point.
off. Yeah.
Well, what risk? The kid's grabbing onto this hot exhaust pipe. You can't tell me that that's not hot. I mean, better than dead.
I understand that shielding is supposed to, like, make it so that you're not touching the hot exhaust pipe, but, like, there's such thing as radiant heat. Like, that can't be cool to the touch.
And that rig is old and crappy, and I'm surprised it's running at all. So it's not in pristine condition, and that protection, not in pristine condition.
That said, he is a small child who weathers the summers in Australia with very little clothing on, so maybe he's just acclimated to scorching heat.
Also, he's probably got really callous hands from that boomerang of his.
Yeah, and all the digging. I mean, I can't imagine any of the grown-ups helped him dig those little rabbit warren tunnels of his, which...
No, he probably just snarls at them if they offer to help.
So Max looking down at the feral child, he's, first of all, trying to drive the truck. Second of all, trying to fight raiders. Third of all, trying to reload his shotgun. And then suddenly, small child in the doorway. So he takes the shotgun shell that he's trying to put in that gun, throws it in his mouth. And then, in what I think is very impressively, he grabs the feral child, picks him up, swings him over, and plops him down in the cabin. One fluid motion.
One big smooth movement, yeah.
I love this. Every once in a while, George Miller reminds us that this person who revels in Max's violence and has killed at least one person, this little person is a child. He is small, he is fragile, he is stupid. So we get another reminder of that here with how easy it was for Max to grab him and fling him into the seat.
Well, it's so easy to forget that 8-year-olds weigh like nothing.
That's true, they are very tiny.
Yeah. So tossing them around, no big thing for Max.
Yeah. So
Absolutely not.
I guess thinking about that is also like, it's a very tender moment in that regard. They're very like avuncular. It's like, what are you doing, kid? Get in here.
I love things like this in early action movies that harken, like you can see where that has been used in other action movies. Because the moment I saw that, the first thing I thought of was Arnold and little Eddie Furlock in the Terminator movie. And just how easy it is for him to relocate. And I'm like, that's where that came from. Like, it's so cool to be reminded of, like, the predecessors. Because you think Mad Max, and of course, well, now I think people think, like, you know, Fury Road. But I think Mad Max, and the first thing that comes to mind is Tina Turner. Like, so over the top. But these little tiny things that happen in these, like, the earlier movies are so resonant, so later down, you know, in the genre that it was just, that particular moment was just, it made me very happy.
It also served to showcase that Max does have feelings. He does have emotions. Yeah. He works so hard to hide them from everybody. He could have just as easily ignored the kid, and it may have been in Max's own best interest to choose not to care about this extra burden that has now presented itself. But he doesn't do that. He puts aside the 2 tasks that he's already working on that are very important and focuses on the kid and makes sure the kid's safe. And yeah, Max is a good person. As much as he tries to act like he's not, yes.
Yeah, Karen and I were talking about this as we were watching, where we're basically, Max is a protagonist who really hates the fact that he's a protagonist.
Yes.
Like, he's actively running from the movie, and the movie's just like, hey, where are you going? And he's like, why are the cameras still following me? I don't understand. So in this moment, it's sort of like, I hate having feelings. Get over here. I can't let you die.
As much as it would be so easy for him to just flick the kid in the forehead and let him fall
just kick him
off
off,
the road, that would,
wow, I didn't go that far.
That would destroy his place as the hero of this movie. I mean, it would destroy his character entirely. So, of course, he's got to pick that kid up. You can't just leave him hanging out there.
It's a very interesting take on the reluctant hero, especially when the hero is trying so hard to squirrel his way out of the plot. He's like the poor guy who's been roped into this D&D campaign he does not want to be in at all, and like, crap, there's an adorable child. Not only that, but I know that kid will in fact kill me later on if I don't help him now.
Right. It's a shame that the feral child didn't bring his boomerang along.
Yeah, well,
because he's lethal with it. That could have been really handy.
It's a shame he's only got the one, apparently, and they got lost out.
Well, it always comes back. Why do you need another one?
Because you lodged the first one in some dude's forehead.
Oh, fine.
The physics probably aren't right for a truck bed boomeranging.
No,
think.
because when it comes back, you've already moved.
That's true.
Unless you take that into account.
Oh, no, but good.
Yeah, if you...
That's a lot of physics.
That's way too much physics.
The kid doesn't have pants. I don't expect him to understand higher level physics.
No.
It's not that pants is a requirement, but I'm just thinking there are other pressing concerns in the wasteland, like pants, and not theoretical physics.
When you put it that way, the fact that the feral child can throw the boomerang and get it to come back at all is very impressive from a physics point of view. He has to understand something about physics, even if he doesn't realize it. Yeah. He's got to understand something.
There's something internalized about it.
Yeah.
You just ingrain it into your muscle memory and you learn to calculate and I mean, like, we do that every day. Like, when you throw something in a waste bin from across the room, you've internalized a certain aspect of physics and like trajectory.
Yeah.
So this kid's just next level and murderous with it.
Yes.
Do we think maybe that fortress had more people in it, but that the kid was practicing with the boomerangs? Okay, sorry.
Wow.
Yikes.
Wow.
That's how we got so good.
Took a dark turn.
It
Trial and
escalated
error.
quickly.
I always assumed rabbits, but sure. That works too.
I'm alright with that.
Poor rabbits.
Not in Australia.
No, they built like a whole fence to keep them out.
Rabbit-proof fence.
Rabbits are jerks, man.
Were they growing stuff? Is that why they built the huge fence?
They were eating everything.
Yeah, someone brought them for food, and then they apparently
They overran the place.
I've heard that rabbits populate really effectively.
like rabbits.
Like,
yeah.
and they did that to all of Australia.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a fence that like bisects the entire continent to try and keep the rabbits at bay.
We're talking about in real life right
No, in
now?
real life.
That's
Right.
right. Okay. I
not
thought you were just
talking
talking about
in
Mad
the
Max, but then as you started to say this, I'm like, oh yeah, there actually is a fence in Australia.
Yeah.
It's a tiny subplot from the first movie where they build this fence because of the giant wasteland rabbits.
Yeah, so fun fact, the Wasteland actually brought about by the Great Emu War.
So that's the great calamity from the opener.
It is.
Okay.
Have you met actually, emus are way less threatening than ostriches. So.
I never picked up on that.
This is starting to sound like our theoretical how to fool boyfriend apocalypse
Yes, the
theory.
apocalypse.
Yeah.
It was a strange day.
So Max is able to pick up the feral child, throw him in the other side of the cab, and now the kid is more or less safe, technically.
Relatively.
And outside the cab, our old friend, the bad cop, because he's dressed like a cop, jumps from the back of the tanker, because he was climbing on the side of it yesterday, so he got up to the top and jumped onto the roof of the cab.
I reviewed the footage from the bad cop climbing. He was climbing on the side-ish because he was going around that reinforced turret area.
Oh, so he
Yeah.
didn't want to do the big jump that Wez is going to do later on in this minute.
Exactly.
Well, he's not as crazed as Wez is.
Well, I'm disappointed because
You can tell
I expect
because
more of my Raiders.
he's wearing far more clothing.
That's true. He's a little more rational.
Yes.
If anything, he should be the one that's able to take more risks because he's got more protection.
Yeah.
True.
Because he's wearing more leather.
Exactly.
So much leather in the desert. Jesus.
Bet they all smell wonderful.
All I can think of is the poor Foley guy if they actually wanted just like this
Squeak, squeak.
squeaking of the leather.
Squeak, squeak.
Oh, Mad Max 79.
Oh, yeah. That first movie.
I'm guessing they got a Foley guy, like, right out of school, whose idea of the sound of leather was just out of control. Because that's exactly what it sounded like anytime those cops walked around.
So
Yeah.
you just had
He
a
was very
balloon.
enthusiastic.
Oh,
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if he just sat on a leather sofa and like held a microphone up to it and just shifted around a whole lot.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
Because that's what it sounded
bad
like.
idea.
Yeah.
And there's still a little bit of that in this movie. At certain points when Max is
Certain
moving around.
moments
Yeah.
when you want to highlight it, yeah.
It's either the squeaking of the leather or the squeaking of the leg brace that Max is wearing.
Yeah.
This bad cop, like I said, jumps down on top of the roof of the cabin. Of course, Max, hearing someone standing on his roof, looks up to see it. And the bad cop, he grabs hold of his porta-pack, which is probably the best view that we get of one of these air-powered arrow shooty gun things that the screenplay calls a porta-pack, which sounds way better than what I just called it.
Shooty gun?
Yeah.
I suppose so. I have to admit my potty mouth brain. When you say porta pack, I immediately go to porta potty. So
This is definitely the best look that we get of it. And it looks like it's a small air reservoir strapped to the back with like a little pump handle to like build up air pressure. Then there's a tube that goes over the shoulder to like the handle barrel area where the arrow is stuck. And then of course he pulls the trigger and he's able to shoot the arrow. It reminds me of a super soaker.
I was just thinking about a
Yeah.
super
Yes.
soaker when you said that.
I kind of want to go and do research on what nail gun technology looked like in the time period because I mean, surely it's the same principle.
Because he had to have retrofitted it from something.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that actually sounds to me like it might have actually started out as like a camper shower. Because I remember like going camping up in the wilds of New Hampshire back in the day. And they had this same sort of thing where they would put hot water in this like metal, whatever, cylinder. You had to pump it. And then you would like push a button and get like, 8 seconds of warm water. You would pump again, get 8 more seconds. Like, oh, this is luxurious. But it actually was because you were in the middle of nowhere and you still had hot water. So it was A-okay. But I'm wondering if it was something like that, because
I
it's
like
that
that
same sort
idea.
of idea. And I figure they might have that in Australia or in the post-apocalypse. Go to the sporting goods store, steal the travel showers. I don't know.
Well, it's very clear that throughout the entirety of this movie that a sporting goods store was raided at one point or another. So,
That's true.
Especially if that sporting goods store was right next to an S&M shop.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
He was a really enterprising store owner once upon a time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get all of the niches here.
I'm trying to think of a good name for this store.
I know, me
Let's keep
too.
going. We'll come. It'll come out at the wrong time. That is.
Balls and gags.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Nice.
Nailed it. There's probably more. Keep thinking. There's probably more, but that's what I've got.
That's a good one, though.
When I was writing up my notes and I wrote down the word Super Soaker, it made me think. Mad Max was filmed in 1981. The Super Soaker would not be invented until, I think it was 1983, and then the patent didn't even get approved until 1986.
Someone dropped the ball.
Super Soaker, invented by American engineer Lonnie Johnson, was a great African-American inventor.
All right.
And Mad Max lover.
I assume. I can only assume.
They still around?
Oh
Yeah.
Soakers?
Oh, yeah.
Are
They're made under the Nerf tag now.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Hasbro makes them.
And you can get them that look like Ghostbuster proton packs. Like,
Stop.
with
Yeah.
the reservoir. Well, they don't. Oh my God! They need to make a partnership to legitimately make Ghostbuster.
Have they not at any point?
I don't think so, but yeah, I've seen people where they wear like it's got the giant reservoir. You
Yeah.
wear in a backpack, and you can just like
Yeah.
literally
You're
hose
unstoppable.
people down.
I had a huge one as a kid that actually had a lever that you'd pull back instead of like a trigger, and it had like different nozzle shapes, so you could get like crazy, either like a straight line or like a spray or
Fancy.
yeah. It was
I
awesome.
never owned one.
Dude,
I had
we
to
have
rely.
to fix this.
I had to make my friendships very carefully. You had to make the proper lines. So you'd be like, "Throw me a gun," and then they got you, and then you just send me charging in because I was the big one.
Did
have to get
someone
some-
yell, "Throw me the idol! Throw me the whip!"
Throw me a head, I'll throw you the whip. No, it was just no.
It was a lot less eloquent.
And then I was the one who was imprisoned in the jungle gym again.
All this talk about Super Soakers, I thought, okay, well, what are these porta-packs? It's the same idea. It's just instead of pushing water out of a pressurized thing, you're pushing a piston that pushes an arrow. Turns out you can buy air-powered arrow rifles
Whoa.
off the internet. There's one in particular that I can't remember the name of, but it costs about, let's say like $600 to $900. And
Whoa, that's cheap.
it
That was expensive.
It fires, I think, up to 8 arrows, 450 feet per second.
Oh my god.
Before you have to like repressurize it?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
I was going to say that considering that it's just air powered, the pressure being created just by a hand pump, I'm surprised that arrow made it through the ceiling of the rig. But apparently that's pretty good.
Oh no,
Man.
if you pressurize a canister enough and you regulate the flow just the right way, I mean, the video I saw of the $1,000 arrow rifle or whatever we're calling it, I think they call it an air bow because why not?
Yeah. Great names.
But it's this video of a seasoned hunter, I guess, and he's out in the bush hunting a big old buffalo, and he takes this gigantic animal down with like 2 arrows, and the whole time he's like, I can't believe it. This is amazing. I've never seen it do anything like that.
I think the buffalo was probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very odd to watch a video of someone just shooting an animal because he's not at like super great range. It's like he's pretty close up. It was very odd to watch. But one video that wasn't odd to watch because there were no animal deaths involved.
Oh, thank God.
I found a how-to online guide of how to build your own air bow.
What could possibly go wrong?
It's this guy. And he's like, hey, I saw air bows online. I thought they were cool. So I built my own and I'm going to show you how to do it. And I'm like, cool. That's great.
Did he have an eye patch by any chance?
What I'll do is I'll post a link to the video on the listeners page so people can check that out after they're done listening to this.
That's fun.
Definitely want to check your local restrictions before you take it into the woods.
Yes.
I was checking online for the expensive air bow thing, and every state around New Hampshire allows them during bow season, but New Hampshire doesn't for some reason.
Oh.
What?
So
I
much
know.
for live free
Don't
or
tread
die.
on me.
Yeah. I was very
It's
surprised.
not the New Hampshire I remember. Things have changed.
So the bad cop grabs his air gun, and he points it down at the roof, and he fires it, and that arrow goes straight through the top of the cab like paper.
Yeah.
Like, painfully easy. And so the arrow, in a very quick shot, it's only like 8 frames, punches down through the roof, goes past Max's face, and then lands right in the seat between his legs. Because subtlety.
That's gotta be nice. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say it like that, it sounds like a trope. But the way it's shown, they just don't play up the trope. You can barely even tell.
right.
First, I thought it went into his leg.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
I'm like, oh, Max is being awfully calm for just being shot in the leg. But, well, that's Max. Calm about everything. And I didn't notice it did not hit him in the leg until I read the screenplay.
That's true, because they don't frame it in the usual tropey way that you expect. Usually it's like suddenly there's a shot, you see the leg, you see the arrow hit, and you see him go, oh! And, then everyone's like, oh god. Like, sympathetic fear of dick shot. Like, oh, that was...
I feel like it's another, like, lost comedic moment, like you were saying earlier, when they have that double take moment of, like, the kid being in the door. And I wonder if, like, they were doing this to try to, like, turn around your expectation, because it's like, this is serious business. Like, this really isn't an appropriate time for a laugh. So maybe it's, I don't know, subverting the trope. Like, I don't know.
It is. It's, I mean, like, the way the shot is framed itself is definitely subverting it. Because it's not supposed to be like, whoa, so much as, like, when you see it go down, my first reaction was just like, oh god, yeah, that could have so easily just hit him.
When you take the shot of the arrow going through the roof, because I use video editing software to like review the minutes, and so I'm able to go frame by frame. When the arrow enters, it's heading straight down, like towards Max in what could hurt him. When the arrow reaches the fletching catches on the edge of the hole and actually deflects the arrow forward.
Oh, that's amazing attention to detail.
Yeah, I don't think they planned that.
Ooh.
It just might have been a happy accident. I don't think they were necessarily shooting down into Mel Gibson's lap in that first shot, but he probably had like a board or something protecting his vital bits. And just, the way that arrow deflected, it just made it a bit safer for him. But when that arrow stuck down into the seat, we get the reaction shot of the feral child, and we get Max's reaction shot. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, that would almost turned messy.
What I like in particular about the juxtaposition of we've moved the feral child into the cab, a safe place. And now it is not a safe place.
Oh, yeah.
Because, anything can go through it like paper. My glib thought is, if the chair is what stops the arrow, why is the cab not made out of the same stuff as the chair? It's like the black box on an airplane. It will survive an air crash. Why not make the whole plane out of that material then, and then the plane will survive the plane crash? But yeah, I liked it.
I say there's a lot of material that they left over in the compound before they blew it up. They could have just strapped and welded everything onto that.
Yeah, they kind of like lined the whole thing with rubber from the tires. Although, I mean, we see those tires get deflated with one arrow, so maybe that's not very helpful.
Wait, but at some point, like, the amount of weight you're putting onto the truck, he'd be able to walk faster.
Yeah.
It would be like in like Skyrim or something, when you're over encumbered and you're moving at like a snail's pace. It would be like that, except a truck. But that would be great, because if the Raiders came, they would overshoot him horrifically. And, like, by the time they'd realized it, he would have reversed it the 10 feet that he'd been. And taken a different turn. They'd never be able to catch him.
Well, you can add extra metal to it and make it look like speed lines. So it looks like they're going faster.
Like they pull out the paints and they put like racing stripes all over it.
Yep.
Oh no, look out, it's so fast, it's got racing stripes, get out of the way.
Gotten the fans in the back blowing dust up so it looks like...
Perfect. Yeah.
No, it's great.
We'll never catch on.
No.
Just imagine they open that bus gate and the truck starts rolling very slowly through the wall, and Humongous just kind of walks up, opens the door, and pulls Max out because they got going fast enough.
Get out of there.
What are you doing?
It reminds me of, like, in Galaxy Quest when they, like, fly the ship out and it's really slow and just, like, scrapes along the side. Yeah. Like, that feels like it would be that level of, like epic, like...
Oh, it's still going. Nope, it's
Yeah, but it would be the bad guys all doing that. They're just, we can't even... This is
sad.
We're all embarrassed.
They don't even want to make the effort to chase them because it's just so pathetic.
We're gonna give you a head start.
Yeah.
They keep looking at their watches.
Listen,
we'll be on our way in about a month. We figure that'll give you enough time to...
They're leather covered in spikes for no apparent reason watches.
This feels so awkward, and I'm not even wearing pants right now.
So the bad cop, since the truck is still moving and hasn't swung around at all, probably realizes that he's missed, and so he loads another arrow into his portapack. And the fun thing about those air bows is, like I might have mentioned earlier, I don't remember, they can fire up to 2 to 3 times faster than a traditional crossbow.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you're not pulling back a string, you're just pushing back a piston.
Right. I have a question. If the bad cop was shooting to kill, and the bad cop is standing on top of the roof of the cab that it's going to go wildly out of control if he hits his mark, what was he thinking? If he had killed Max, the truck would have gone out of control, and he would have been thrown off the truck.
Possibly.
Bad plan.
He might just be very overconfident in his ability to keep balance and just underestimating the danger of like, yeah, I'll probably just slow down to a stop.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time a bad cop has severely overestimated the lack of risk to their action.
I think maybe you get over cocky when you're dressed in all leather.
Yeah, they're definitely like, they run on leather and adrenaline.
I mean,
gang.
at least the bad cops are wearing helmets at all times. Which is more than we can say for the Mohawkers.
He's wearing face protection too.
Exactly.
Like, he's just
Is that face protection? Because it looks to me
The
like a
diaper
cod
face?
piece.
It kind of does.
Like I'm like at one point we're watching the clip and I'm like, son, wearing a jockstrap on your face is no way to go through life.
You can actually buy those. Those are actual face type protections that you can buy if you're riding motorcycles and you only want to wear a 3/4 or a half helmet. You can buy those leather face masks, and they'll keep your face from getting scraped off when you crash.
and it'll hold your jaw in place too.
Yeah.
A lot.
Which will just make cleaning your bloodied body off the highway nicer for the paramedics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of guys on the highway who just have like a handkerchief over their face just to keep things out of their nose and out of their mouths.
Yeah, I'd imagine, I mean, especially depending on where you're driving, I would imagine getting hit in the face by like a bug
Yeah, exactly.
at like
Yes.
80 miles an hour is probably unpleasant.
It is.
But does it hurt nearly as much as, say, getting an airbow bolt?
Probably not that much.
I mean, how big do the bugs get?
Well, in Australia.
It is Australia.
Right.
That island is either trying to murder you or on fire at any given moment.
Side note, when we make generalizations about Australia, we get in trouble.
That's why
Really?
we don't do it. We let our guests do it all the
let our
time.
Well,
We have a tally of of places that we have either inadvertently or advertently insulted. We're going to get one of those like scratch off maps so that we know where
Yes.
we can't go.
so now that's what? That's Latvia, it's Poland.
Latvia, Poland.
Have we pissed off Canada?
I mean, we
No,
could right now.
probably
Do you want me to do that?
But now
right
Australia.
All right.
We were talking shit about Louisiana recently also. So we're actually starting to attack our own, like... home-
Attack territories domestically.
Yeah.
I want to go to Louisiana
Well,
too.
I'll
That's
tell you what, I don't want to go to Australia, so that's fine.
I think the only problem with going to Australia for us Americans is that you have to go on like a 24-hour plane ride.
Yes.
Which just
It's nightmarish.
is not appetizing.
There is nothing on this planet that I want to do for 24 hours straight. Nothing.
I wouldn't mind sleeping for that long.
No, I mean, I've almost done it, and even then, it's not as much fun as you think it would
wake
be.
up tired.
It's just like being transported into the future, but it's like a crappier future because now you're grumpy.
It's already Sunday!
Like, what the hell? Yeah.
While the bad cop is reloading another arrow into his air bow, Max finishes loading the shotgun, and his first thought, of course, is to shoot the guy above him because he just shot at him.
Yeah.
But before he has that chance, the raider that's been climbing along the side of the tanker with the umpire mask and the crossbow, he appears in the passenger side window. And it's a plan that this guy had. I wouldn't say it's a good plan. Because his idea is to crawl to the side of the cab, take his gigantic crossbow, fire it through the glass into Max, and then probably cause the truck to wreck. I don't know. But his crossbow is not something that you can easily use in closed quarters. And so this whole idea of breaking the window and shooting Max all at once, yes, it can be done, but is it really a good idea? Obviously not, because Max sees him coming from a mile away and uses that first shot to blow him to Kingdom Come. Just...
Yeah, see, the thing is, I'm trying to work out, like, how this plan could possibly be a good workable idea. And I'm thinking, like, if he were to take out that side view mirror first. So, like, Max is going blind on that side, so he has no idea what's going on down there. Now you can sneak up, so you have, like, if you coordinate right in one fell swoop, you just, like, smash the window open. Now you have a straight shot right at the driver who's a couple feet away. You shoot him, and as soon as he goes down, you hop in there. Oh no, suddenly there's a kid. Didn't think about that in the plan, but whatever. Climb over the kid or knock him out or whatever. Then you shove him out of the driver's seat and you take over the truck. That would be like, if he were a protagonist in an action movie, he could do that. But he is the bad guy, and he doesn't even have a name, I don't think.
Nope.
I am so sad that we can't animate Liz's plan with like stick people on like an index card, like on liquid television. Because like, all right, so we're gonna do this, and then it would be like the little like X's and O's when they're trying to explain football. They're gonna go through here, but oh no, there's a kid, and like, yeah, I'm very sad that we don't have that animated.
That's actually an insight into my brain, actually. That's how that works.
No, you're welcome.
That's how I operate on like my daily commute.
Index cards,
Yeah.
stick people.
All right, I'm going to stand in front of the third door of the second car of the train, and then the doors are going to open. Oh, God, there's a little old lady. Let her have that seat. Okay. Quick step around, 2 steps, in the seat.
A cool thing about this shot where Max is shooting through the windows, and if you look carefully in the corners of the window, you can actually see the little charges that shatter the glass. There are these bright flashes of yellow light. And then, let's see, the shot of the window exploding is only 6 frames, so it's very fast.
That
You
is
gotta be real
lightning
quick
fast.
on it. But then, like I said before, the Raider is literally thrown from the side of the car. He is blasted back at least 5-10 feet by the force of this blast.
Which is enough for death in this
Oh,
scenario.
it's definitely enough. The funny thing about it is that Max immediately goes from shooting the guy out the side window to shooting the guy on top of the truck, and he puts that barrel right up against the roof of the cab and shoots, and the bad cop just kind of flops backwards. He's not thrown at all, and I got my hopes up, my expectations were high from the first guy getting thrown, and this other guy just got, knocked over.
You know what could have happened that would have been really cool is that the bad cop gets shot, gets thrown up in the air with the truck still moving, and he gets impaled on the reinforced turret spikes.
Oh.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I love you, hon.
I found it really interesting. In modern action movies, you know what would have happened is Max would have shot that rifle right next to his head. And then for the next like couple of seconds, you would hear that high-pitched, now everyone in the theater has tinnitus sound, just to let you know that, oh, and by the way, kids, don't shoot firearms in close quarters.
Yeah. The kind of thing that Archer will never let you forget for the rest of the series.
It's true.
Despite the fact that the bad cop isn't thrown very far, he's thrown far enough to disappear entirely from this movie. Like, all of the shots that we get behind the cab, his body isn't there.
Yeah, he's not there anymore.
He's
You're
just
right.
gone.
Maybe he
disappeared.
Are we to assume that he just rolled off at some point?
That's what I'm thinking.
Unceremoniously?
Like, he fell back with enough of a trajectory or whatever to bounce off of the wheels and then just land on the road, because there's no way that Max has a disappear from the plot gun. I mean, you could say that that's what his shotgun is, but...
So does this mean he's not dead? He might just be at some sort of like a ranch upstate. He's gone over the Rainbow Bridge. Like, what sort of post-movie life can we give Bad Cop, since we didn't actually see his body turn into like mulch?
Emu farmer.
Emu farmer.
Well, maybe feed for an emu farm, but...
That's, tomato.
Yeah, that works. I like the idea of there being a farm upstate that all of the injured and hurt raiders go to, and they just go and frolic.
They can run and play with the other bad guys. It's just...
Throwing a football back and forth. Sitting just, someone's like weeding a garden.
Doing arts and crafts.
Arts and crafts, painting little happy trees.
Over in the corner, they've got, some like leather protectorant, and they're just like rubbing it on their outfits. Making some buffing shiny stuff.
Not using it as lube.
No, it's the nice farm upstate, Caitlin.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Our book club selections have gotten interesting of late.
I was about to say, what kind of farms do you... Actually, don't answer that.
E-I-E-I-O, my friend.
We were on a couple episodes of the Spinal Tap Minute.
Oh, God.
And the minutes that we were on was when they were singing Sex Farm. And
My word.
So you already know all about it.
yeah, we're familiar with the concept.
Oh, my stars and garters.
That's also leather.
So Max has dispatched 2 raiders with his shotgun. His shotgun is now spent. The feral child could not be more excited or happy to have seen this happen.
Oh, yeah.
That kid is so twisted.
Dude, that kid is That's
He lights up like Christmas.
Yeah, this is the second time he's seen someone get blasted in the face by a shotgun, and he had the same exact reaction last time as he did this time. You would swear that he was getting a brand new music box with how he reacts to seeing someone get blasted in the face.
that weird little laugh of his.
Oh, yeah. Not healthy. Not healthy.
Oh, I guess that's what makes him feral.
Still one-handed because he's trying to move the truck. Max throws the shotgun in his arm and starts pulling shells out again. And Wez takes this opportunity as a lull in the action to do this amazing leap from the back of the tanker onto the roof of the cab, because with Wez, anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
And that yell. He yells when he does anything.
That's how he powers himself. He's powered on shouting.
Yeah.
Like a lady tennis player.
Yeah, sure. You're talking about the Williams sisters?
No, all of them.
Well,
They grunt.
it was the Williams sisters that popularized.
Do they do it a lot?
Yeah, they used to get people were just like, oh my god, they can't just play like dignified people.
Well, that's because people are racist.
There's
but
that
like
too.
white women had been doing that shit for decades, for sure. People were just picking on them because they're assholes. Will you blank out the entire word asshole, or just the ass, or just the hole?
Just the ass. We leave the hole.
The hole's really important. You can't get rid of that.
That's important. I mean,
So Liz and I were watching this entire movie, and as we're like, all right, we're not going to look for our minute. We're going to watch the movie and then go look for our minute after the fact. And we're watching it, and I believe it was Liz who says, goodness, I hope there's a hashtag butt in our minute. And there was! Hashtag butt as he makes that leap over to the thing, and his little loincloth kind of boop in the back, because he's running around in chaps. Not assless chaps, because all chaps, that's what chaps, that makes them different from pants. Well, Brooke, no debate on this subject.
yeah, I'm kind of an insufferable person to watch a movie with for like many reasons, including this one, where like if it's appropriate for me, I'll just point, just like butt. Someone walking away, butt. I just point, butt.
It's like when you're in a car and you're driving past like a field with cows, like you have to point cow.
Yeah, butt.
But
Did you notice back before they left the compound as you are watching the movie that when the warrior woman relieves Max from his position on the turret as he turns to walk away, that she checks it out?
Yeah, I was wondering about that actually.
Oh yeah, she gives him the old up and down look over.
Yeah, no, she's my hero. She's great. She's got priorities in order. Hashtag butts.
Oh, she's dead now.
Oh, that made me sad.
wait,
Yeah.
no, was it the big warrior woman?
Yeah,
So
it was on
so
from
Zan
Farscape.
from
Yeah.
Farscape. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
The one who just died this week, then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
our
Yes.
Christmas episode.
Yes, it was.
Merry
Merry effing Christmas.
We killed the plant lady.
Oh,
Much like we kill Christmas trees. Oh, look how well that worked.
So while Wez is doing this amazing jump down onto the cab, Bearclaw Mohawk is being much more reserved. He's climbing down the side of the tanker because the stuntman who plays Bearclaw Mohawk was also the actor who jumped over the turned over buggy and hit his legs and somersaulted like a million times.
That
into the
was
ditch.
such an amazing thing.
Yeah. He broke his leg.
yep, I'll bet it did.
Yep.
Bent a pin in his bone. He had that leg set earlier in the year. This stunt bent that pin.
I was so curious because you're watching it and I'm like, this is a scene that today would have somebody done on wires. And we'd laugh because it would be so obvious that that was wire work.
Or
And
BCG.
Yeah, and I'm watching it and I'm like, that can't actually be a person.
But it's
No.
not a dummy. It's
That's-
too good to be a dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that screaming was real.
Oh, the poor guy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Guy Norris is one of like the best stuntmen that we've ever seen, and he is prolific throughout the industry. Like he's worked on a ton of stuff.
How many bones has... No.
All of them.
Better question. How many bones has he not broken? Those are probably much fewer.
Is it like Lloyd Bridges in those, is it not the Naked Gun movies, the Hot Shots movies, where he's like, my ear canals are stainless steel, and like every part of him has been remade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some of his teeth are original.
Yeah, but he keeps those in
Probably
a jar
not.
on his mantle.
It's like when they were making the behind the scenes coverage of the movies as they were making them. You'd get this announcer. He's like, okay, so we've set up this, and this for this stunt. And we're going to do it. And then they start doing the stunt. And then halfway through, the announcer's like, and everything's gone terribly wrong.
So basically, it's their behind the scenes stuff is like an episode of Arrested Development.
I think so.
Nice.
It's like today we're going to do a cannonball stunt. And then title card comes up, the crew tries to do a cannonball stunt.
Oh,
Then you get Ron Howard. They didn't.
well, it's just like that's another thing we were talking about. I don't know if you've seen or talked about this yet, but it was Steven Soderbergh. There was an article that was basically like his reaction to watching Fury Road and just like marveling at George Miller. And him just being like, if I were doing this, we'd still be in the staging period of this whole thing. And I'm surprised like half the people aren't dead from the production. So like this is how, because he clearly like damn near killed half his cast in this movie alone.
Mm-hmm. And we like to talk about how the characters are fearless. Well, the crew is just as fearless.
Jesus, yeah, you have to be.
These series, just the amount of driving and like the mechanical variables involved, it's just, my mind is just staggered. But I do have a question about Bearclaw Mohawk. Is that, in the movie, a clearly prosthetic arm, does that actor actually have, like...
A grabby hand?
Yeah.
It's not a prosthetic arm like you would think. Like, Furiosa has a full-on prosthetic arm. His bear claw, I'm doing air quotes because I do great radio
little
content.
Claw fingers, yeah.
His bear claw is just a gauntlet that attaches to his forearm and then extends past his hand. In the earlier scene where they're doing their little torture montage with the guy with the flaming nunchucks, you can see Bearclaw Mohawk holding up his gauntlet and his hand is down here. And then, sorry, listeners, I'm doing a visual explanation.
They're fine.
He's holding up his hand and his fingers are kind of clawed over and it kind of looks like he's holding a heart from Temple of Doom. And you can see how the metal claws of his bear claw extend up past his fist. And so when he punches through the back window of the cab, because apparently all of these raiders have a problem with windows, sort of like every interaction with raiders in this rig, they're breaking a window.
They just really like ventilation.
I guess so. But he punches through that window and then he puts that bear claw down on Max's shoulder and just digs in. Oof. And we get a nice little rip sound effect.
Oh, yeah.
As he does that, and it's just right in there.
If we can't have air conditioning, you can't have air conditioning.
Well, it's because, you know what it is? It's because they're all covered in leather and sweating in the desert. Yeah, crack a window with your fist.
I don't recall his injuries to that shoulder, the left shoulder. Was he injured particularly bad on that shoulder?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
With the way that Bearclaw does it, he doesn't quite get all the way around Max's shoulder. It's kind of set back a bit, so those claws are digging in primarily to Max's jacket, but I think he is getting a little bit of flesh there.
Yeah, he gets in a bit, like right around the collarbone.
Yeah.
Almost like a handle, like, because now you've got like a handhold on him. You've got that nice clavicle grab.
Like Bearclaw Mohawk grabs Max in this minute, and for the next 8, 9, however many minutes it is until the rig crashes, that claw stays in there.
Oof. Was the shoulder injured before the claw?
He had a couple of red marks on his neck from when Wez busted through the window and tried to choke him out, but I don't think he had any pre-existing damage to that shoulder. Because the arm that was run over in the other movie was his right arm, and it's the left shoulder.
Okay.
Man, we got quite a rap sheet building up on Max, don't we?
Yes.
Run over right arm, blown out left knee, tore up left shoulder.
Do you know what someone now needs to make? Is one of those Operation games, but for Mad Max.
Yes.
Oh my god. This is better than the modification I was going to make on the mystery date game.
Oh god.
That was going to be a surprise thing for an episode. It never happened. But it involved Picard in like his like bathing suit wear.
Yeah, that would work.
But like now, this is a new challenge.
Yeah. Someone needs to make an overlay for a game of Operation with all of the various places poor Max has been injured throughout his time.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes.
There is a nice little flub in one of these shots, straight from the MadMaxMovies.com flubs trivia page. Ooh. In the shot where Max is pulled backwards by the spiked gauntlet, if you look up to the top of the frame, you can see the spiked flail head, I think that's what you call it, already stuck in the roof of the car. And Wez has not started swinging it yet.
Huh.
Oh.
That's right.
Before we move on to Wez and his...
But...
Yes.
There's a very important detail, yes.
There's a very important detail. When Max gets grabbed by the bear claw, he drops his shells.
Yes.
Now, why he didn't drop his shells on the floor and they went out the front window, I have no idea. But there's 4 of them in that shot, isn't there?
There are 4, and then if you, not that normal people would stop and go frame by frame, but if you frame by frame it, there is a 5th shell that starts to drop into the picture by that very last frame.
Okay, so we have seen him shoot 4 shells.
Yep.
We see him drop 5 shells. He only received 6 shells.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, I kind of have to take back all of my compliments to George Miller about not doing, magic guns. He shoots twice, he has to reload. Everything stops because he has to reload. Shoots twice, he has to reload. He's done so good up till now, and now there's 3 extra shells.
Well, just because the gun isn't magic doesn't mean the rag it's wrapped in can't be magic. This
Very
could be like a
true.
D&D thing where it's like a rag of holding.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it just hasn't been sewn into a bag yet.
Right.
Because this is the after times, and stitching is a luxury.
Exactly.
I've watched way too much Freakazoid in my life because now I want there to be a wipe in this scene where it shows all of the gang people in that scene from Clue. 1 shot, 1 + 2 +...
Yes, exactly.
Especially if we get, like, Frankenfurter instead of Mr. like, the butler.
Yeah, so we can go full leather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you count bullets, Yola?
There you go.
Oh.
Okay. The toady, Max Phipps,
Okay.
for, 3 years?
Yes.
He was Australia's favorite Frankenfurter in the Melbourne production of Rocky Horror Show.
Whoa.
I was not expecting that to have a tie-in.
Well, there we go.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Yay.
I have not been able to find any video because it was like 1977.
Yeah, so they
And
weren't all
no
this
one
one.
carried around camcorders to the theater back then. Shame on them.
It's true.
Should have been easy to hide in like a giant rucksack, but whatever. Technology being what it is.
One of those little crank up ones, just like...
Just sitting in the back, turning a giant crank on a bag. Sir, is there a camera in your bag? No, I'm just turning a crank on my purse.
It's my old-timey pacemaker.
It's my organ.
I brought my
Left my
gerbil.
monkey in my other bag.
But see, then the film strip would have to be something like the early 80s, so it would be a still shot, a explanation of what is in the still shot, and then the to let the person know they advanced the film 1 slide at a time. No one remembers those from
No, I
elementary
remember
school.
that.
Okay, good. Not quite that old yet.
I'm not that young.
That's true.
So we get a nice shot of all of these shells spilling out onto the hood. And there's another entry, in really quick succession, for another flub/trivia from MadMaxMovies.com, where they say that if you look to the front of the truck, you can see a couple of dark feathers sticking up in front of the cowcatcher, as if Wez is already there.
Huh.
Oh.
I don't know how much of a flub it is, because they say on the page that when Wez is thrown off the top of the cab that you can see that there are no shells on the hood, but there are shells on the hood. I double-checked. I don't want to call them out, because the last thing I want to do is get in a fight with the guys over at MadMaxMovies.com, because they put in way more work than I have. But, that's none of my business.
So the feathers might be there early.
Right. It could have been from them, driving through a bird.
Well, no, see, here's the thing, though.
Could be an emu from the before times.
Exactly.
Having worked with crafts, feathers are the second most prolific thing to appear where you least expect them once you've started working with them.
The first being glitter.
First being
It's the
glitter.
second to glitter.
Yeah.
Glitter is a blight.
It's the worst.
Craft herpes
Craft
is the
herpes.
worst.
The worst material ever created. So Wez is up on top of the cab, and he's got this mighty flail. It's got nice long handle, big long chain, and the end it's almost like a giant
Like
nut
softball size, no?
with spikes attached to it. It's very, very mighty looking. And he takes 3 good swings. First swing damages passenger window, shatters glass everywhere, because nobody likes windows in this movie.
Okay, but who's fixing these glass ever? Do they just do this on the regular, or because no one's still manufacturing glass?
No, once it's gone,
You would
it's
think
gone.
that would be a precious commodity that they wouldn't really want to be smashing.
Exactly. And he's just smashing it willy-nilly.
I mean, do the Raiders cars, they don't have any glass, do they?
I say, some of the Raider cars do.
Yeah.
The red car that was destroyed earlier in this week, when Max shot him in the face with the shotgun, there are a couple of holes that get punched in the glass. And
Yeah, you're
then
right.
all the viscera spreads behind it.
Yeah. Well, I guess, it's a commodity, but in the heat of battle, that's a piece of shielding that has to go.
So Wez smashes out that first window. He swings again, this time through the driver's side window, which already is broken from an earlier accident. And the flail end wraps around the edge of the cab and just smashes right in front of Max's face. And it's that third swing that comes around the side and actually lodges in the top of the cab right in front of Max's face, or it's like he looks at it like it's too close for comfort. And Wez just looks like he's having the best time.
Well, he's finally like, he's been let loose.
Literally.
Yes. Yes, oh, Karen had a pun.
No, I'm being quite literal.
No, but you did make a pun.
Oh, did I?
While we were watching the movie.
Oh, I did.
He was basically when Lord Humongous had him on a leash and then let it go, Karen said,
"Let's let the dog of war." I was very proud of myself.
Karen's very proud of her jokes.
You should be.
Don't encourage her. Don't encourage her.
The one thing that seems to kill Wez's buzz is the fact that he lodges the flail in the roof of the truck and then he tries to pull on it and it's not moving and he seems very disappointed. But he doesn't have that much opportunity to revel in his disappointment because Max slams on the brakes and just sends Wez flying. And it's another great instance of Newton's first law of motion at work.
That's just science.
Talked about that last week with grappling hooks.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So is that the last you see of him? And is that like the most anticlimactic thing ever?
It's not the absolute last time we see him.
Oh, okay.
But for all intents and purposes, he does disappear for another couple of minutes.
It's a classic movie trope, I think, made popular by shows like Game of Thrones, where if you don't actually see him physically die, he's not dead.
Yeah, no body, no death.
Yep.
I mean,
we see him fly off the front, and then we switch to do something to look at something else.
Yeah.
We do not see what happens to his body.
We see him get thrown, and then the feral child watches him drop in front of the windshield. And it's one of those things where normal people would look at that and say, oh yeah, he's gone. There's no way he could save himself somehow. But it's like, we know better.
Yeah, but he's got feathers, he's got, his crazy war paint, like, this is our guy.
I feel like this sequence with Wez is like 90% of the inspiration for the character of Iron Bar from Beyond Thunderdome. Because Iron Bar, it's that tiny guy with the mannequin head on the post on his back. He gets thrown places and disposed of so many times over the course of that movie, and he always comes back.
This is why you never neglect, your hand grip exercises. Like, dude, you just learn to hang on.
Exactly.
Get that grip strength. Don't look at me like that, Caitlin.
So back to that farm. No, sorry. Keep going.
Say it. What else is there to do in the post-apocalyptic wasteland than to work on those grips? Just saying.
Especially when you're from the biker gang, like black leather-clad ball and gag store place. I'll stop. I'm just going to keep drinking water.
I apologize for the conduct of my co-host here.
We need an adult.
We should have had you on for minute 50 when we had the tent lovers. Those two raiders that just love tents.
It was so nice. No, that was so nice because this movie... Let's get through that. I have opinions.
Okay. We'll cycle back to the people who love tents after we're done.
See, they made the same joke too. I saw the name come up in the credits. I was like, they're very enthusiastic about camping gear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see? I'm proud of my jokes too.
While Max is doing all of these shenanigans with the raiders at the front of the rig, at the back of the tanker, Humongous, who was tailgating Max, something fierce, you'd swear he's from Massachusetts or something. As Max slams on those brakes, the Humongous is like, well, I don't know anything because there are no brake lights on this tanker. And so he smashes headlong into the back of the tanker with his car, which is very unfortunate.
Oh, yeah.
Because when the head coverings fly off of those victims, one of them is still alive.
Yeah, that's really disturbing. I hoped that they were dead. And I think the last time we talked about them, I'm like, please let them be dead. And they're not. Now, is only one of them alive?
Defiant Victim is dead because he
Okay.
got the headbutt o' death from Wez.
Yes, it's true.
Broken Victim, played by Max Fairchild from the first movie, is not dead because that head covering comes off and he gets this really shocked look on his face because, hello, tanker.
Yes.
And then they just get the watermelon head treatment as they both just against the back of the tanker.
See his death coming.
So he's been alive for days being tortured.
Oh, yeah.
That's horrific.
And dies as a hood ornament.
With that information, you're going back and thinking back through the whole sequence where he's been strapped onto something. He can't see where he's going. Just telling by his other senses, oh God, I'm strapped to the front of a moving vehicle in a high-speed chase. There is a battle going on around me. I am prone. I don't even know what's happening. And, the most merciful thing to happen would have been for that hood not to come off just before his death.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
nope, the world hates him.
And this is an idea that George Miller took and expanded on for Fury Road, because that's exactly what happens to Max. He's in a high-speed chase, he is attached to the front of the car, hooked up to an IV, taking his blood, and he can't do anything about it.
At least he doesn't have a hood over his face.
No.
He can at least see what's going on.
It's debatable whether it makes it worse or better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't feel like that's a positive.
Because he's up there and he's thinking, well, this could be worse. I could have a bag on my head.
I was thinking it could be worse. He could be driving through a field of waist-high apple trees.
Oh.
Just constantly getting hit about the waist area with apples.
Ow.
I don't know why there would be waist-high apple trees in the middle of the wasteland, but,
Well, it's the
green place?
wasteland,
Yeah.
so they're
Yeah.
waist high.
Oh, all right. No, you earned a high
Do
five.
I deserve... Oh,
You do.
okay. I'm a little ashamed. But I'm also a little proud.
Wasteland.
I mean, he set me up.
It's true.
Thank you, Rick.
after we're done with watching Humongous treat his captives terribly, we switch back over to the rig, and the rest of this minute, the last 7 or 8 seconds or so, is just Max fighting with Bearclaw Mohawk, struggling against the pull and pressing on the gas and having Bearclaw Mohawk slip around. And it is what it is.
Is Bearclaw conscious?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I couldn't really tell.
Like, he doesn't have good footing. I think that's his major hang-up.
Okay, that would be a problem.
Major hang-up.
Oh, major hang-up.
Can we cut back 1 second to Humongous's crash? Mm-hmm. Now, of course, I've seen the movie, so I know the answer to this. That crash doesn't seem to really have done that much damage.
Not to the vehicles.
Not to the vehicle, just to the 2 poor souls
Just
on
to
the
those,
front
yeah.
of it. But to the vehicle itself, and Humongous as the driver, doesn't seem like it was that big a deal.
Oh.
I imagine they've reinforced the frame enough for this sort of, occurrence.
Right. I mean, the frame has to be reinforced enough to at very least support the 2 scouts, leaning in a very awkward way off the front. So yeah, the frame's got to be reinforced.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, people install bumpers and cowcatchers on the front of vehicles to prevent damage from happening to their vehicle. I imagine these scouts are just a fleshier, more squishy version of, a push bar.
Yeah, they're human bumpers.
Absorbing all of that impact.
Yeesh.
Head pops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that rib cage there.
Exactly. Oh, boy. So, yeah, we pretty much wrap up minute 85 with Bearclaw Mohawk hanging from his gauntlet. He's not so much grabbed onto Max with his hand. He's just hanging by his gauntlet out that back window because Max has accelerated. He lost his footing. Now he's just hanging there. And that's where we're going to leave him for the weekend. And we'll catch up with him on Monday. And since we're at the end of the week, we might as well talk about what we saw earlier in this week to give you guys an opportunity to comment on that. Just to do a quick rundown of the episodes that we had. We started out, Monday was our Christmas episode. We started with a tiny victory with Warrior Woman shooting Bearclaw Mohawk, but then Wez came along on the other side, blindsided her with the arrows, and then she got
Sad.
skewered.
Oh.
It was bad. She fell by the wayside, got caught up to the barbed wire. It was really awful. It left the mechanic to douse himself because he was on fire, and not great position to be with. And Max took some initiative by sideswiping the snake truck. The day after that, the mechanic was able to get his flames out. He went over to try and pull Warrior Woman back up on the tanker, but quickly found himself losing a very visceral game of tug of war. Got pulled off by the raiders. Pulled off the tanker by the raiders.
Oh.
Potty mouths, thinking I'm saying something else. And then Max responded by leaning out the door using his shotgun to kill the driver of that specific car, which caused his buddy to try and take control of it. That raider really struggled to keep control of that car. He's swerving back and forth, and eventually Max just plowed into him and decimated that thing. And then yesterday, we saw the Gyro Captain and Papagallo come back because they'd been missing for like a week and a half. And the rest of yesterday was pretty much just setting up for all of the shenanigans that we had today. So do you want to go back to tents?
I'd like to go back to tension. So here's my thing. We start the movie, and it's a bit of a sausage fest of a movie, and I'm not just saying that because half of the people who aren't Max in the movie are wearing bondage gear. The first woman we see in the movie is has her shirt torn off and is basically off-screen sexually assaulted. Then we get the people in Medic Town. We have Cindy Lou Who. And we have the older woman who is great because she reminded me a lot of the Vovolinis from Fury Road, which I greatly kind of appreciated the Fury Road that they called back to that. But the thing that I liked the most about the Tent Lovers is not their over affection for sporting goods, but it was finally looks like we got to see like a consensual relationship between a man and a woman in a movie. And I assume that it was consensual for two reasons. One, she was on top, and two, they were wearing matching garments for what little garments they were wearing.
His and hers outfits.
Yes, they were both wearing loincloths of varying...
Wow, that's a really loud glass. Sorry, Karen. You go.
Mine close to varying.
Spikes.
Yeah.
So, that's...
How is that loud? I don't understand physics either, feral kid. Don't worry about it.
I don't know, but what I loved about that is that isn't that normally like the Pam from Archer, like sploosh? And then what we got was this weird sort of dribble. But yeah.
That was definitely one of the more standout notes from that scene that we had as well. Because when it comes to female characters in this movie, you've obviously got the warrior woman, who's Virginia Hay, who she's amazing, but never gets a character name. Archie Whitley's character is the captain's girl, which, granted, Bruce Spence is a huge part of this movie, and he's only known as the gyro captain. There are so few people in this movie that actually have names.
Yeah.
Like, you could argue that, you know, Big Rebecca, who is Moira Clow's character, the one who was trying to get everyone to rebel against Papagallo, like, she has a name. You know, Rebecca is a proper name.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you
Feral
go through the
Kid,
list.
yeah.
Feral Kid, Mechanic's Assistant, Broken Victim, Defiant Victim. Like, everyone's described by what they do or some characteristic that they have. Like, the old guy, Sid Halen, is just called Curmudgeon.
It's sort of like that's going in with the overall theme that this is a story. This is a tale being told. So it's not important for them to have names because this is all myth. So, yeah, the big Rebecca itself, like that's... Even though she has a name, she's still being made into this mythical figure by having an article attached to it.
That's one of the things I really like about this movie is that it's not a narrative being told to us in real time. It's a story being told long after the fact by a character who was a child at the time and is now an old man.
Yes, exactly.
And so a lot of these details aren't going to be spot on 100% accurate. Like,
Right.
you can almost expect all those instances of things being a bit more outlandish and unbelievable. Well, that's because the guy telling the story saw all of this happen when he was an 8-year-old, and then he got the gaps of the story filled in by the gyro captain, who, let's face it, he's a corny dude.
Yeah.
So
You know he's prone to embellishing.
Yeah. And he might have named himself. He's awfully proud of his machine. It is a precision instrument. And the feral child is not to touch it. So if he's helping to fill in the gaps, he may have named himself the gyro captain. Because it's romantic.
yeah, he might have only been like someone with a learner's permit. He might have not even attained that captain status.
I mean, there's nothing for him to be a captain of, so he's a pilot. He was, you know,
Yeah.
but, you know, he just... I'm a captain. I'm master of this one-person vehicle here.
The gyro captain's not a bad name. It's certainly better than the one I gave him, which was the Australian Matt Frewer. It doesn't roll off the tongue nearly as well. Plus, I do like at some point that he just starts dropping snakes on people, which I just think is the best. Mostly because in my mind, all I can think of is, I want all these mother-flipping snakes off my... Yeah, anyway.
All these monkey fighting snakes off to this Monday to Friday plane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday is my favorite one.
It took me a long time. I mean, I even knew she was there. Even when we started the movie, Liz was like, "You've seen Farscape, right? Yeah, you're going to see a familiar face." And so, of course, I'm expecting anyone other than Zahn, who I didn't recognize, because if you've seen Farscape, you know. If you haven't, she spends most of the show in either very loose, like kind of drapey clothing, she's bald and painted blue, or she's naked and painted blue. And that tends to have a way of skewing your vision over what a person actually looks like. So I'm like, there is no way. But then there's like a couple scenes where you're like, oh yeah, no, you can't you can only do so much, like
The cheekbones and the
the
eyebrows.
cheekbones. Yeah, she had the best eyebrows.
Yeah, Virginia Hay was definitely one of the standout elements of this movie, for sure. And I think it was last Friday where we were talking about how it really upset us that she didn't get a better send-off.
Yes, I thought she deserved so much more. I mean, her name in the movie is Warrior Woman. Let her have a proper warrior's death. Mm-hmm. She had a sad, pathetic death. She didn't even get to do any damage.
Yeah, that's why actually, wait, I can't, has it gotten far enough that, like, do you see people, like, trying to, like, retrieve her body?
Oh yeah, we're past that.
Past that? Great. Like, that's, like, when that was happening, I'm like, oh god, so then she must be alive because, it, like, the plot is acknowledging her body and is they're fighting over it. So she's gonna come back. It's gonna be fine. Why is she not coming back? Why is she dead? Really?
Yeah.
She got shot twice in the gut. Like, everybody else has gotten shot twice in the gut and come back. Come on.
That's not actually the worst thing that happens to her body after she dies. When she gets pulled off of that tanker, the mannequin that they used to represent the warrior woman, the foot got caught on the wheel well of the tanker, and her leg got ripped off of the mannequin's body and was just left there hanging as they were rolling down the road.
Did they keep that shot in the movie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can see as the mannequin gets swept up by the road, the leg is just left there hanging.
Yeah, that's...
But normal viewers can't really see it. It's him and his frame by frame. He found it.
Well, see, now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it, and I'm going to notice it every time I watch
Like,
it.
oh, there's the leg.
And now everybody that listens to this is going to be that same way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
ruined it for everybody. Great job.
Yep.
This is why we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice things.
This is exactly why we can't have nice things.
And
Like anything involving the gyrocopter.
have you guys talked about, like, what's his face was using to douse himself with? Because, like, it's a gasoline fire that he's trying to put out on himself.
Yep.
And he uses water.
Yeah.
Actually, he was using more gasoline.
Well, that's what you need to smother the fire is to put more gasoline on it.
Listen, if Mr. Bowie is any authority on things, you put out fire with gasoline. That's how that works. It's a great song. Cat people. Putting out fire with gasoline, in parentheses.
Of course, this is the same guy whose hands are on fire. He holds them up to Virginia and says, I'm fine.
I got this.
It's fine. Go ahead. It's okay.
He's like a living meme.
Absolutely.
This is fine.
It was just the first time he lifts his hands in there and fire. He's like, oh, wow.
Yeah. I was going back and forth for so long about what banner I was going to use for that episode because I chose to do Virginia Hay and she's looking very serious and she's on top of the tanker. I could have also done that one with the mechanic and just making that, well, I guess I'm on fire now face.
What can you do? It's a living.
This is where I am now.
You know, and he fought so much to get on that tanker. He didn't want to ride in that lousy bus. He wanted to be on the tanker because he put so much work into it and they weren't going to leave him behind. And now...
He's dead.
Yep.
Hate to say I told you so, but...
Yeah, everyone kind of told him so.
He'd probably love to say I told you so, but he did.
It's going great. Great job. Great job, guy.
You had 2 jobs. And a third one, which no one should have, which is don't light yourself on fire, and yet you took it upon yourself to make that your job too. It's fine.
That's sort of like the unstated job of every person, isn't it? Just don't catch fire.
Don't catch fire.
Yeah. I thought it would have been great if they took the wheels off of his little crane thing and mounted that to the top of the tanker, and so you'd have the mechanic's assistant, moving him around, and you just have the mechanic out in open air dropping Molotovs and throwing them around and just being this crazy hard to hit gremlin.
That would be amazing.
It just occurred to me how motion sick I would probably get doing that.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Tanker is moving forward at like 50 miles an hour, and then you're on the back just swinging wildly around.
Like people pay lots of money for that experience nowadays at amusement parks. So
Yes, they do.
He gets it for free.
Isn't there something in like a Super Mario game that does that? It's like a dude in a cloud who throws bombs at people.
Lakitu.
Thank you.
Or Lakitu.
Lakitu, yeah, that's how I know them as.
I don't really know. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone who would have any authority say it, but I think that I've generally accepted...
Be a Japanese person.
I think I've accepted into my heart that as a stupid child I said Lakitu, but as a more educated human now, I know that it would be Lakitu, just because
It certainly makes the Mario Kart games a little more ominous to know that that guy is kind of always there holding, like telling you what lap you're on. And at any moment he could just throw like a Molotov cocktail
Or
at you.
snakes.
Or snakes!
There definitely needed to be more Molotov and snake throwing from the gyro captain.
Yes.
Because, as I mentioned, he disappeared for like a week and a half before just flying back into the picture.
He only has so many snakes.
That,
He had to restock.
He had to coax them into the gyro. He's like, no, come on, no, I promise it's gonna be fine. And the snakes are just sitting there like, but we live in the ground. This is where you put us. That's what they say. That's how they say it. Yeah. Caitlin's a parcel tongue.
Now I really just want a Mario Kart skin thing for Mad Max.
I'm pretty sure someone made a video.
Has someone done? No, but like I want
Fury Road.
I
and
want
Mario
like a
Kart.
game that we can play.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Where it's Mad Max but Mario Kart.
I would actually play that Mario Kart like
Oh my
enthusiastically.
god.
And then the Rainbow Road is where that's all the you can only play dead bad guys.
I mean, I was gonna say
They're crossing the Rainbow Bridge.
it's
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It comes full circle. I mean, there is a Mad Max video game. I haven't played it, but I don't think it's going to be quite as epic as this Mario
What
Kart.
system?
I don't know. I think it's the latest
I think
generation.
it's Xbox One and PS4.
Yeah, it came
I wanna
out- it
say,
came out
and
with
also
Fury Road.
PC.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out right around the same time as Fury Road. They were not able to get the rights for the likeness of Tom Hardy or Mel Gibson, and they weren't able to get a voice actor that sounded like Mel Gibson or Tom Hardy. But it's still technically Max because he drives the Interceptor.
Okay.
And then you lose the Interceptor and you team up with this weird guy and there's a dog and it's actually pretty fun.
Is there?
Does the dog make it out?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's all I need to know.
Oh, we're so glad you weren't
Wait, I think so.
with us.
Now I can't remember.
Something bad happened to a dog.
No,
fine,
you
it's fine,
keep
Caitlin,
the
don't
dog
worry.
because the dog is what you use to find landmines.
Oh.
Oh, that's important.
The dog is able to sniff out
Jeez.
landmines.
There are dogs that have that job.
I know. I
And they
don't.
get so excited about doing their job.
Dogs are so happy when they're doing their job.
We've been enjoying like watching the dog in this movie of just like we're just like dogs are terrible actors because they don't have a game face. They're just like you need to jump at this person and the voiceover recording is just going to be a dog like rah, rah, rah. But the dog's tail is wagging. Dog's like we're playing. I'm doing a thing. I'm doing the thing you told me to do.
I'm so happy to be here.
And they're all looking like oh god the dog's looking threatening at me and the dog's like hey you got a treat?
Do you have ham in your pants?
Just happy to see you.
Well.
Oh, that's a story a friend of mine once told me. Like that's the trick. Every dog comes up to you and says, "Excuse me, good sir, but you look like a man who might have some ham in his pants." And they're like, "No, I'm a lady." No, shh, good sir, the ham. Stay on target. And so now, because of her, it is literally the first thing I think of when I see a dog. Is that suddenly that it's that dog, but overlay the dog is a top hat and a monocle. Excuse me, good sir. The ham. And then that's all I see.
Dog is definitely the best dog that we've ever seen. And much like Warrior Woman, he does not get the proper send-off.
No, it didn't make any sense.
But is there anything more Australian? And I know you have Australian people who are going to be mad at me probably for saying this, but then watching an Australian cattle dog eat a dead kangaroo, I was just like, this right here, this works.
Say, that's dinky die right there.
So what happens to this dog?
It runs very quickly to tell everyone else that Max is in danger, and then it joins the bad guys on a farm upstate after crossing a rainbow bridge
It gets shot in the face.
with a bolt.
No!
Off screen.
Shot
Off
in the
screen.
face with a bolt?
You don't actually see it, although people for years after this movie came out were writing to George Miller saying, "How dare you kill that dog on screen?" And he'd write back, be like, "I didn't kill him on screen. It was a sound effect."
Oh,
That dog...
I can hear it. I don't like it.
Yeah,
It's one of them
horrible
yelps.
noise.
I'm like, do I go online? Do we pause the movie and do I go online and do I check doesthedogdie.com?
It was too late. We didn't prepare.
We did not prepare.
The
not
dog actually got adopted by a couple that worked on the stunt team for that movie and lived with them for many, many years and actually appeared in other productions.
Yeah.
Not a ton, but like others. And then when that couple, I guess they had to move or they got too old or something like that, another stuntman from this movie adopted the dog again.
Aww.
And so it stayed in the family.
Stay in the Mad Max family.
and lived a long, full life not being shot in the face by raiders.
Good dog.
It's a happy ending for the dog.
They got him from a shelter, right?
Yeah, they were going around looking for dogs to act in this movie, and when they went to the pound where this dog was being held, I want to say production assistant or someone was in the yard with all the dogs, and the dog brought her a pebble and dropped it at her feet. And so she knew that because the dog wanted to play, that the dog could be easily trained. Mm-hmm. And they ran into an issue adopting the dog for the production because the pound wanted to castrate the dog. But in the post-apocalypse, no one is going around castrating dogs, so the dog needed to be whole. Mm-hmm. And so they had to get a special dispensation and everything like that to be able to bring the dog out of the shelter without having its,
It was probably before the time of nudicles.
Exactly.
They make them.
They didn't have prosthetics.
Yeah, they make prosthetic testicles for your dog.
That you can put in the scrotum so that they still have...
So it looks like you
big
have
doggy
an
balls.
You
inject.
can feel all cool and you have a dog with...
Yeah.
They've got the biggest balls of them all.
That's a great song, Caitlin.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, I don't know why you would do it. I honestly don't know why. Maybe just so the dog doesn't...
It would be for show because of machismo.
But would it be for the dog so the dog doesn't feel emasculated?
No, it's not. The dog doesn't care. The dog... You have ham. The dog does not care.
Dogs might care.
I mean,
We live in a world where people put nuts on trucks.
On trucks, yep.
So why not on dogs?
Well, we have propellers that they put on trucks as well. Why can't we put propellers on dogs?
Or on nuts? Wait, no. I lost the thread of this conversation.
Sorry.
Well, on that note, if people wanted to hear more from you, where should they look?
Well, we are pretty much anywhere where other podcasts can be found. We're on Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud. We're on...
iTunes.
iTunes, that's the big one. iTunes. You might have heard of that one.
Yeah.
But you can also look us up on our social media pages. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/henhousefoxes.
We're at Henhouse Foxes on Twitter.
We are foxesinthehenhouse.tumblr.com.
Yeah, that one got made a little inconsistently, but,
I think more of them are at Henhouse Foxes than... Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. And then our WordPress that we sometimes post to.
henhousefoxes.wordpress.com.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
We are also individually on Twitter.
That's right. My individual Twitter handle there is Sweary McAsshole.
I am older than Latvia.
And I'm Hollywood Fat Cat.
That's actually my Twitter handle, sorry.
No, that one actually will get to be kept in.
Oh, she gets
The only person who ever gets to say asshole on this podcast, for real.
That one's probably going to be...
That one's going to get bleeped, though.
There we go.
I should have made my Twitter like older than MF Latvia.
So, usually we point everybody to other Movies by Minute podcasts, but if you're looking for a great, more or less weekly podcast of a bunch of awesome ladies getting together and talking about all sorts of stuff, definitely subscribe to Foxes in the Henhouse. I highly recommend it. And I guess until Monday...
The Mad Max Minute podcast is a fan project by Rick and Julia Ingham.
The Mad Max franchise was created by George Miller and Byron Kennedy and presented by Warner Brothers Pictures in association with Village Roadshow Pictures.
Mad Max Minute is produced and edited by Rick Ingham. Our opening music is by Daniel Bautista of danielbautista.com.
You can follow Mad Max Minute on Twitter at Mad Max Minute, on Facebook at Mad Max Minute Beyond Microphone, and at madmaxminute.com.
And finally, if you would like to contribute to the podcast, visit madmaxminute.com, click on the support link at the top of the page, and check out our Patreon to help us keep the tanks full.
Thank you for joining us for minute 85 of The Road Warrior. Have a great weekend.